Hello, kings and queens. What do you want to be most remembered for? What do you want to be most remembered for? Legacy might be a word that comes to mind here. So in this episode, I'm going to be talking about the common missteps that people make when they consider this question. And I'll share with you a different perspective to take when approaching this question that I know will be a total game changer for you. There are a few under-the-radar reasons of why this question could be the most impactful question that you could ask yourself. And I'll be offering a couple distinctions within this question of how digging deep into this question can help you discover your life purpose, which you can begin living today. Do you ever have the feeling of knowing there's more for you? More of you to step into, more of you to become, more of you to give, more impact to have, more untapped potential for you to live into and create from? I share the same feeling. So how do we close the gap between who we are and who we want to become? How do we close the gap between where we are and where we want to be? How do we close the gap between our current reality and our envisioned potential? It's time to step out of autopilot and live into purpose. Welcome to Purpose Mastery, a podcast for conscious leaders who are committed to showing up fully and giving their unique gifts to the world. I'm your host and fellow journeyman, Isaac Kaufman. I'm a coach, a creator, and a man on a mission to support leaders on their journey of stepping further into their authentic nature and living their life purpose. Our goal with this show and company is to introduce you to the people, the ideas, and the insights that will help you rise up into living your fullest potential. Welcome home to your authentic nature. Welcome to Purpose Mastery. So what do you want to be most remembered for? I'm going to make a couple distinctions within this question for you to consider, as this will help you clarify the higher path that you are meant to live. And clarifying this higher path is what I work on the most with my clients. So the first distinction is future-based legacy versus current-based legacy. So future-based legacy. When people hear the question, what do you want to be remembered for? They typically interpret it or think of it as, what do I want to be remembered for when I'm dead and gone? So one might say, I want to be remembered as someone who helped his community, or someone who brought out the best in others, or I want to be remembered as someone who lived with passion and enthusiasm. I want to be remembered as a great husband, wife, mother, father, leader, and so on. They say, here's what I want to be remembered for, thinking that it's some future thing. And for the most part, they then go about their day not being the person or not doing the thing that they want to be remembered for. So it just remains in their mind as this abstract concept, not really impacting or influencing their daily lives. It's like if someone says that they want to start living a healthier lifestyle. So I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to exercise. But then 5 minutes later, they're back in autopilot and they say that they'll go to the gym tomorrow, and then they crack open a carton of ice cream because it's the easier and more comfortable thing to do. And I've been there. But then there's current-based legacy. Current-based legacy. In which we can ask, how do I want to be remembered for? What do I want to be remembered for after this conversation with my spouse? Or what do I want to be remembered for after this meeting with my colleagues? What do I want to be remembered for after this encounter with the cashier at my local coffee shop? What do I want to be remembered for right here, right now? What if legacy was a moment-to-moment decision? What if your legacy was a moment-to-moment decision? People won't remember you for what you, quote-unquote, want them to remember you for. People will remember you for what you did or what you do the vast majority of the time, the value that you provide right now, and for how you're treating them and making them feel right now. You've all heard the saying in sports, you're only as good as your last game. Now, is that completely true? Not completely, but there is some validity to it. And that saying exists for a reason. It's because people tend to have very short memories. So you will really only be given credit or remembered for what you are doing, saying, and behaving right here, right now. You want to be remembered as a kind, loving, uplifting, generous, compassionate, and great husband, wife, parent, teammate, colleague, or manager? That's great. That's something you can do right now. Like right now. That's the beauty of current-based legacy, is that you can make a list of 100 things that you want to be remembered for. And each one of those things has an actionable and practical step that you can do right now. It doesn't do you or the world any good at all what they say about you at your funeral. Whatever you want them thinking or feeling or saying about you at your funeral is what you can have them thinking, feeling, or saying about you today. So avoid getting caught in the trap of future-based legacy. Step further into your current-based legacy to be who you truly want to be right here, right now. And to have the impact that you truly want to have right here, right now. This is how we can live more into our purpose in our day-to-day, moment-to-moment basis by committing to being the best version of ourselves right here, right now. This is something that I have to make my mantra, because I'll sometimes step into that future-based of, oh, this is what I eventually want to be creating in the world, doing with my life, and have people, the lasting impression that I want to have on people, and so on. But then in that moment, I'm not doing it. Or in that day, maybe I'm not doing it most of the time. And I think, ooh, okay, that's me stepping into future-based legacy as opposed to living my legacy right now. And what's the benefit of that? Well, now I'm being the best version of myself right now, creating the best version of my life right now, which will only exponentially grow. So there's future and current. So the second distinction to the question, what do you want to be remembered for, is self-centered versus other-centered. So self-centered. So an athlete might say, I want to be remembered as the best player of all time with the most championships. A company might say, I want to be remembered as the highest profiting company in the world. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with self-centered aspirations. To some degree, everything we do has to first and foremost serve us in some way. And there's a healthy balance, right, to everything. But if we are driven too much by that self-centeredness, then we'll be frantically chasing things with the underlying desperate hope that those things will fulfill us. Which, of course, they never do, or at least not for long. And even if we acquire those things, or achieve those things, nobody will ultimately remember you for those things. They will remember you for how you acted in the world and the value you created for others in the world. Now, your ego might have something to say about this. And it's very difficult to know whether or not we're being driven by our ego, especially when it's happening, of course. In hindsight, we can see it. Kind of, sometimes, hopefully. But in the moment, it can be tricky. So here's one way to tell. Right now, in this moment, Is there a whisper in your head saying to you, everything Isaac is saying is not true. He is full of shit. Don't listen to him. You need to make $1 million. You need to own a big company and become well known, because then you'll be respected and then you'll be celebrated for eternity. Now, maybe it's not that drastic, but if you're thinking or feeling something in that ballpark, then maybe your ego has the steering wheel right now. So just evaluate the degree of the self-centered aspirations that you have for yourself right now, without making them wrong, simply just assessing. And then there's other-centered legacy. So an athlete might say, I want to be remembered as the greatest teammate of all time, making everyone around me better. Or an entrepreneur might say, I want to be remembered as the pioneer who brought clean water to third world countries on a global scale. Or I want to be remembered as someone who used all of his passions and gifts to bring out the best in others. So this is the level that brings us deeper and closer to our deepest purpose, when our goals and intentions is to inspire, uplift, and empower those around us and beyond, to use our powers for good, beyond just our own benefit. Now, someone might say, well, I just want to make sure that I take care of my family, and I want to make sure that I make as much money as possible, work any high-paying job I can to make sure that my family is stable. And that's perfectly fine. And that's perfectly noble. And I offer you this. What if you could have that and more? What if you could provide for yourself and your family in all the ways that you want, and do it in a way that truly inspires and fulfills you? What if you could provide in a way that gives you a deeper sense of meaning and a true sense of purpose? What if? What if you could harness your passions and your talents and offer your gifts in a way that benefited others and yourself? Imagine how fulfilling that would be, knowing that you were having the deepest type of impact in the world. So when considering the question, what do you want to be most remembered for? Remember those two distinctions: future-based legacy versus current-based legacy, and self-centered legacy versus other-centered legacy. There's future, current, self, and other. So as a writing exercise that I often have my clients do, if you feel inspired to do so, feel free to do it, is I have them write out as long of a list as possible of all the things that they want to be remembered for in all the categories: future-based, future, current, self, other. It helps them get crystal clear on and distinguish the desires of their ego as well as the desires of their heart. It helps them get clear on where they are out of integrity and where they need to get back into integrity. It helps them get clear on who they truly want to be and what they actually want to invest in. And it reveals what they truly want to create in the world, their calling, their purpose, which can be lived each and every day, right here, right now. So what do you want to be most remembered for? What do you want to be most remembered for? Did an insight or an idea or a question come up for you? If so, reach out to me. I'll be responding to everyone's question. One of my goals here is to create a community where we can support each other's growth. So I'd be happy to hear from you, and I'd be happy to offer support. So guys, is there value here for you? If so, I invite you to join me. Okay? Together, let's continue this journey of stepping further into our authentic power, presence, and purpose. I'm going to be sharing with you all of the best insights, mindset strategies, helpful tools that I've gathered from my entire life's journey. I'll be having guests on the show to have conversations with leaders who are living their purposeful lives so that we can learn from their journey as well. All of this for you to have your own insights to fast track your own journey to living a truly successful life. So follow, subscribe, and if you think one of your fellow kings or queens would get some value out of this video, share the wealth. Till next time, stay sovereign.